speaking earlier today.
This debt limit increase is his problem, and I think it's time for him to lead by putting his plan on the table, something that the Congress can pass.
Congressman Peter Welch is a Democrat from Vermont, and he joins us now. Mr. Welch, good afternoon. Would you have supported the election of Barack Obama, knowing that he was prepared to start hacking away at entitlement programs in this way?
Well, we're not going to hack away at entitlement programs. You know, there's two things. Number one, what Mr. Boehner just said is not on the level. We do have to raise the debt ceiling because a country has to pay its bills. The Republicans proposed through Mr. Boehner a grand bargain, $4 trillion. Now they're backing away from it, and they don't have the votes to pass anything. Second, this is a thing that Americans have to understand. Every one of those Republicans who voted for the Ryan budget voted for a budget that will raise the debt from $14.3 trillion to $23 trillion in 10 years. Yet the budget that they voted for requires us to raise the debt ceiling, and they're claiming that they won't do it because it's fiscally irresponsible.
Indeed, but going back to the president himself, we just had the independent senator from Vermont, not far from you, Bernie Sanders, and he was saying that the president made promises and pledges when he was running his presidential campaign that he would never touch Social Security, that he'd never touch Medicaid and Medicare. And now look at what's happening. He's actually discussing the possibility in this grand bargain that they were discussing yesterday that these kind of programs are on the table.
Well, Social Security cannot be on the table as a piggy bank to prop up tax cuts for the wealthy or to help the general fund. Social Security is not the cause of that problem. To the extent we make changes in Social Security, it's got to be for the benefit of the security and solvency of Social Security for the beneficiaries and generations ahead.
But do you as a Democrat feel a sense of disappointment in the president?
Well, you know, I don't go there to express the disappointment because we've got to get 60 votes in the Senate for a better plan. We've got to get 218 votes in the House. Now, I think the president, there's two issues here. Okay, one, we've got a long-term fiscal deficit that's got to be addressed. If we're going to get there, you've got to put the Pentagon on the table. You've got to have revenues on the table. What you can't do is use Medicare or Social Security as a piggy bank, basically to solve the sins of the tax cuts in the Bush era, Medicare Part D, Iraq and Afghanistan on the credit card. So Democrats like me, and I even think Bernie, are absolutely opposed to raiding Social Security or raiding Medicare to supplement the tax cuts for the wealthy. On the other hand, to the extent that we do anything with Social Security, like for instance, should we raise the cap? I kind of think we should. That will put more money into Social Security, but it's got to go there to make sure that program is solvent. And we would resist the president if his approach, and he hasn't outlined what it is yet, actually was to take away benefits on Medicare and Social Security.
What do you say to your constituents who look at this impasse, these stalled talks, and say, just look at Washington, they can't even address the commitments that have already been made financially that we need to pay for? They can't even get to the bottom of an agreement on this issue.
I say they're right. I say they're right. There's an enormous frustration in the American public that we're having this debate as though paying your bills is optional. I mean, a great country has commitments and has to pay those bills. Now, one of the things that works for the Republicans is the just say no approach, to deny any willingness to cooperate on any basis with the president so that they can withhold anything that would be considered to be bipartisan support. So their strategy of just saying no is working for them politically in part because it creates an immense amount of cynicism. We've got to get the facts out. I mean, what I just said, how do we get here to where we are? They're blaming Obama. How about Iraq? How about Afghanistan? How about Medicare Part D, the $2.3 trillion in the Bush tax cuts, the bailout of the banks that was requested by George Bush? Democrats have to fight back hard on that. We can't cave in on Social Security and Medicare.
Congressman Peter Welch of Vermont, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Next, did tabloids